Okay. Genesis chapter 4, King James Version. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived, and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. And thou tillest the ground. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, Therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. Cain knew his wife, and she conceived, and bare Enoch. And he built a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. And until Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mahujael, and Mahujael begat Methuselah, and Methuselah begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. And Ada bare Jabal, and he was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Ubal, And he was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. Let me read that one again. There's monitoring spirits in here, so just be aware. Chapter 4, verses 21. And his brother's name was Ubal. He was the father of such as handle the harp and organ. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth, for God said, She hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. Sorry, that was a little bit of a messy read. I'm going to leave it. I think that imperfection can be in a form of perfection. And there's weird monitoring spirits. Every time I read the Bible or praise God, the demons and the people that live in this house seems to kind of get weird. So you might hear that from time to time. That's what that is. It's people with demonic stuff going on because of their sin. So what I observed from this is the first children. Cain being the first child, very interesting thought. Then we've got Abel. I just really like the fact that Eve says, I've gotten a man from the Lord. It just sounds so funny. But, technically that's exactly what happened. She got herself a little man, basically, from God, which is the basis of children. They're gifts from God. We live in a broken world, so a lot of times, these gifts, these children, they don't get what they deserve out of their parents, which is unfortunate, maybe because the parents also didn't get what they needed. And at some point, though, I think if you're able to wake up in God, you've got to realize that the cycle needs to be broken at some point, even if you didn't have the best parents or the best family or whatever. You can be that. You don't have to continue to cycle, just like you don't have to pass on what a person does to you if it's negative. You don't have to become a negative person and be like them. You can be completely different. You can choose to be better than that. For me, that's what I work on every day, my own plank for sure. There's still so much. I don't think it ever stops, the working on oneself and improving. And I think the best way to go about that is if you have God in your life to help you improve, because I think most of us, without God, we just really think that the self-sufficient thing is the way to go, and there really is no such thing as being self-sufficient. Even all the things that you get without acknowledging God, just waking up every day and even expecting to wake up the next day with your plans, it's taken for granted. And really, there's a humble way to think about that it isn't something that you deserve. It's something that is given to you by your Creator. And if you don't recognize Him even for that much, it's kind of disgraceful. So I just, in my days, I definitely pray for people to wake up and have a chance to know Him and soften their stony hearts into flesh for him, because, it's just really strange to hate God, I understand to an extent to be upset about things that are going on in your life, especially the things that are bizarre and doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's easy to blame God for it, but he's not the one that did it. It's us, it's us doing it to each other. It's us doing it to ourselves because we make really bad choices, and it could be because of ignorance or just being really naive, etc. But it still is a bad choice, unfortunately. And it has nothing to do with God. In fact, God is pretty merciful. He's giving us free will. He's not controlling any of us. He's letting us decide, what we want to choose and who we want to be. And that takes a lot of grace, especially, you're watching from up there. What people are doing with their free will is just a mess most of the time. And then we want to blame God about it, most of the time. Like, we're just, well, God, why? And look, I've done that, but I've just learned that it's not his fault. If anything, me being preserved to this point, I'm very grateful. I'm very blessed that he didn't just leave me in a lion's den or surrounded by a bunch of wolves, He's here and he protects me. So it's just really interesting. I'm kind of going on a little bit of a tangent, so I'm sorry, but it's just really interesting to see. This is the first sin outside of Eden, I suppose. It's the one that's mentioned. Of course, the sin of eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that whole thing was the one that set all this off. Now they're outside of Eden, but I noticed that in this chapter, they're still close to Eden. And so Adam and Eve, even though they're kicked out, they didn't stray far from that place. I imagine they must have missed it, They had this beautiful paradise life that they gave up over a stupid choice. And they used to walk and talk with God freely and just they didn't have to work and suffer, and they didn't have to go through any of that. They had paradise. And for some reason, they decided to eat that fruit, which I'm not going to be mad at them for that, because I've sinned, we've all sinned, and you gotta give a little bit of grace. It's not like they're just purposefully out there just doing dirt. They made a mistake. It just is what it is. And it looks like they learned from their mistake. It looks like just the fact that they didn't stray far from Eden, The whole world is their oyster at this point. But they stayed close to that place that they were born, that they had it perfect. Until the fall, I guess, of man. So now we're at Cain and Abel in chapter 4, and there's another sin, the first murder, Yikes, and it's, brother killing his brother out of some jealousy, out of some deep-rooted insecurity. And that makes me think of people today, people who are just nasty and hateful, and they just don't know how to forgive, or they just don't know how to have grace or mercy on others. They want to hate, and so they keep going in their hateful ways. And it's some people blame themselves for that. I used to do that and go, what did I do? Until I realized, and God told me through things like this, that you don't necessarily have to do anything. You're just, sometimes these people that are doing this stuff, a lot of the time, they have deep-rooted issues. You can find this out by just looking at the fruit of a person and how they live their life. And if it isn't a peaceful way that they live, what comes out of them, what they produce, what they say, what they do, it's mostly a projection of you, whether it's good or bad. You're projecting something. And I'd rather project positivity or just the truth, if I can, through this word of God. And I try not to judge people, because I understand that a lot of this stuff happens because of deep-rooted issues that the person or people refuse to acknowledge or try to get help for, or they don't know how to get help for, or maybe they've tried to get help, or maybe they're just in the wrong crowd that's letting them think that that's okay to behave those ways, or justifying or enabling. There's just so many reasons behind it all, but it all goes back to the deep-seated issue of a person. It comes out in the way that they behave and the way they treat people. And the Bible says it best. It's so easy to be kind or to be nice to the people in your life that you get something out of, or, your company. It's so easy to do that. Why not show that same kindness to just a stranger on the street, Give that same courtesy and kindness to that. And it doesn't have to be fake. Because that's when it gets really challenging, is can you be kind to people who are not kind to you? Can you be kind to people that are not in your immediate life circle? That to me will show more about a person than how they are to the people in their daily life. That's what I notice, and I mean in their daily life in terms of the people that they hold close, friends, family, and things like that. If you're walking down the street, or you're in the grocery store getting rung up, or you have neighbors, or you have people in a neighborhood, or even people at work, whatever it is, you should be able to have the same type of kindness and courtesy and mentality with everyone. Aside from those who are very abusive, I mean, honestly, you should still love those people and pray for them anyway. But definitely, if you can remove yourself from an abusive situation, get out of that. Because nobody should be hurting another person. Like, that's really insane. Nobody should be that destructive to another person's life, and the other person shouldn't be accepting it. But anyway, I'm on a tangent once again. The first murder of Cain and Abel. Obviously, Cain has some deep-rooted issues. This is why he was showing this hate toward his brother. It's a why that people do things like that nowadays, is because they have deep-rooted issues that they don't face or deal with, and it can be painful to do so. And God is saying that, to him. He's like, why are you upset, And he's telling him what he can do to get the respect that he was wanting from God. Obviously, he wanted something from God. He wanted respect. He wanted the acknowledgement like that his brother got. But something about the way that he gave was his heart, or something wasn't in it. It just wasn't right. Something about the way that he gave just wasn't authentic and true or right. It certainly wasn't something to be given to your creator, where his heart was. And whatever Abel gave, it was. Whatever he gave, it was right there, set in the right heart for God. And I'm not sure the whole context of this offering, but there was obviously something that there's a lot of things wrong with Cain. Unfortunately, there's things going wrong inside him that he's created himself, really. And he's got to figure out how to get out of that. And God is trying to help him. But instead of trying to fix his problems or, come right, come correct, he kills his brother. It's just, whoa. It's just a whole left field there. And it's just very interesting. So, food for thought. It's interesting that after he does this sin, he lies about it, even though God can see everything. People do that nowadays. They think the things that they do in secret, nobody knows. And God sees everything, and God will expose it to others. Nothing that you do is ever in secret. That's so weird to even think that. But, he lied. He lies to God, and he's trying to make himself seem like something better than what he is. And God confronts him. And then he can't bear the fact that he's just been acknowledged for what he really is, unfortunately, a monster. And so now he's like, oh, they're going to kill me and I can't bear this. And it's just like, you killed someone. Do you realize that? You killed someone over some jealousy and deep-rooted issues. You showed so much hate. And all you care about is how you're going to be treated now after you did that. there's just so much wrong, and that's just so much that I see people do on a daily, just in their lives. They have that type of mentality, and it's just, it's so destructive. So, God still has mercy. He marks him so that people will be cursed if they try to curse him or kill him. And he goes out and he gets married and he has kids and he's got his whole lineage we're looking at here. And his lineage, I can't really say much about it. It's just a weird lineage. It's just getting weirder and weirder. Some great grandson he's got going on here, Lamech. He's got 2 wives already. He's just going somewhere that I don't know where he's going. And he's killing, as well. So it's just almost like the cycle repeats itself. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You don't have to repeat what your family or your parents have done. If it wasn't right, you can change it. And it isn't to put shame on the people before you and what they've done, or even what people around you that aren't related to you have done. It's just to say this, that you don't have to pay that forward. You can choose to be better than that. It would make the world a better place, and it'll just bring you peace in your life. Real true peace in your soul. Happiness and joy in your soul. I don't know how to explain it unless you're willing to take that walk. It isn't easy to get there because you're in a world that it says that you're supposed to be some other way, but that way is literally the way to destruction, self-destruction. And most of these people aren't even truly happy if they're perpetuating hatred and perpetuating things that are negative toward others. It's just, that's not the tall tale signs of happiness. But I digress. I'm going to move on from chapter 4, King James Version here. It's just, these are the observations that I've gotten. And she did get herself another son, another man from the Lord. She got her son Seth. And we can see that there's a lineage there through Seth. He has Enosh, or Enos. And then it says at the end, then began man to call upon the name of the Lord. So it just seems like there was definitely, Adam and Eve still had some connection with God for sure, acknowledging him and everything. I mean, they knew him very well and walked with him. So of course they tell their children, and the children are sacrificing and giving things and offerings and things. And it just continues. Even here with Seth, they're obviously still telling their children about God, and the cycle continues down that legacy. Not really sure where this is going from here. I think we get to see kind of the lineage of Seth, but let's just explore chapter 4 tomorrow and find out. For now, I mean, if you have any kind of comments, leave them below, like just things you noticed about this reading. And, I would love to hear it. Otherwise, I hope that this reading meant something. You grasped something out of it, and it helped you in your spiritual journey and growth with God. And I just pray many, many blessings over you. And till next time, God bless.